Dynasty owners, what's up? It's Jay Pounds, and we got another weekly video for you guys. As I mentioned last week, this is going to be starting all the off-season stuff. I'm handling all of the rebuilding stuff this off season. I'm going to sprinkle in a bunch of other little stuff too, just to keep it interesting. I will be having some of you guys on here with me to go over your rebuild strategies for your teams and things like that. So I got a lot of cool stuff coming for you guys. Before we get into today's video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff, as well as comment. And it helps out Dynasty Owner greatly, and it is appreciated. Before we jump into today's topic, I'm going to hit last week's playoff games and then this upcoming week's playoff games as well. I was 5 out of 6 last week, got everybody but the Cowboys right. Though in my home football pool that I got money on, I didn't pick the Cowboys, so I just can't put money on them, especially in the playoffs. The way they just whatever can go wrong does go wrong for them. It seems every single year. The first matchup we got is the Raiders and the Bengals. I had the Bengals winning this one, which they did. Joe Burrow looks like a beast. Going forward, man, this dude is somebody you're going to want on your roster, especially before he gets that contract extension. The next game we got Philly versus Tampa. That was just an ugly game. Tampa got out to, like, I believe it was 31-0, and the Eagles kind of put up a couple points there at the end, but God, it was ugly. There was a lot of blowouts this first round of playoffs, including my Steelers against the Chiefs, 42-21. As I said in last week's video and article, it just didn't look good for the Steelers. We did not match up well with them at all, and as you guys know, the Chiefs are a machine. Them and the Bills, I feel like, are the two clear-cut front runners for the Super Bowl right now, and it's going to be a heck of a matchup to see them guys this week. Up after that, we got the Patriots and the Bills. This was absolutely ugly. I have never seen Bill Belichick get outcoached and outplayed, whatever you want to call it, like this. Josh Allen and the Bills did not punt the entire game. The final score is 47-17. The Bills move on. After that, we got the 49ers and the Cowboys, which we already touched on a little bit. A bunch of blaming the refs at the end of the game, but the Cowboys should have never been in that position to begin with. To be honest, they were lucky to be in that position to begin with. It should have been a blowout. The score, it doesn't reflect what happened on the field, honestly. And last but not least, we got the Rams and the Cardinals. Another blowout, just an ugly game. Kyler Murray looked shell-shocked. Interested to see what they do with Cliff Kingsbury. I personally think they move on from him. Just another late season collapse out of the Redbirds, man. It's crazy to see. I don't know if it's maybe the size of Kyler Murray and him getting hurt every year, and it just kind of being a trickle down effect from there. And then obviously Nuke Hopkins was out, that killed him. But just you didn't see Kyler Murray run the ball at all, and that's what he's good at. That's what he's made his money with, and it was just gone. They had negative yardage after the first quarter. It was just ugly all the way around. But now let's jump into this week's matchups. We got Cincinnati versus Tennessee. This one's going to be close, and I think the X factor there is Derrick Henry, who is coming back. He's been out since week 8 with an injury. All signs are pointing that he's going to play, and if he plays, look out, because this dude, like I said, he got hurt in week 8, and he was top 5 in rushing on the season. So he didn't even play half of the games, and he finished in the top 5 in rushing yardage, which is absolutely incredible. So if he comes out and looks even halfway like himself, it should be a victory for the Titans. I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans, but I do think it's going to be close. It was a great year for the Bengals. Even if they do win, that'd be excellent. I'd love to see them in the AFC Championship. But if they don't, it was a great year, a great stepping stone. Bolster up that O-line, and they should be Super Bowl contenders, if not this year, by next year. After that, we have the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the potential game of the year. I am very, very excited about this matchup. I am not going to do anything but sit my butt on the couch and watch this game whenever it is on, because it should be a great one. You got Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, Bills versus Chiefs, top 2 teams in the NFL, in my opinion. If the Buffalo Bills come out and play like they did against the Patriots, I got them winning this game. Josh Allen just seems like he is on a mission for the city of Buffalo, and it just seems like it's too good of a story not for it to, or for it not to happen. I don't know. In the NFC side, we got the San Francisco 49ers against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have been rolling all year. I don't see any reason this changes after they got a week off to breathe a little bit. It's a long season. That I'm sure that week off is a huge plus. Obviously, it does affect rhythm and things like that. But when you got a vet like Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they don't really need that game. It should be I shouldn't say easy win, but the 49ers are going to have their way on the ground, but other than that, Aaron Rodgers overcomes that, and it's a decisive victory for the Green Bay Packers. Last but not least, we got the Lambs, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This should be a great game. Every time Brady seems to lose in the playoffs, it's because the team he's going against has a tremendous front four that can put pressure on him, and they can drop everybody else back into coverage. I honestly feel like that's what's going to happen here this week. Um, I got the Rams winning. I think it's the Rams. Their front four with Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd, and Von Miller, man, they're just ferocious, and I think it pays off, and they get to the NFC Championship game. So that leaves us with the Tennessee Titans versus the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers versus the Rams, if my predictions come true. That's all I got for this week's playoff games. Let's go ahead and get into what you are all here for. This week's article is the 7 players rebuilding owners need to trade. These are players I feel like all rebuilding owners, regardless of where you're at in your rebuild, it's time to move on from these guys and get some value while you can, and really try to jumpstart your rebuild and make it a couple years less longer than it should have been. Most rebuilds are 3-4 years. If you trade assets and pieces away right, you can really rebuild a team in 2 years, no problem. You got to have an active league and things like that, obviously. But if you play your cards right, it's definitely possible. So the first player I got that you guys should be trading away if you are rebuilding is none other than Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Philadelphia Eagles. He has 3 years remaining on his contract, and he is at $1.5 million a year. Obviously, Hurts is a fantasy beast. He's got the Konami code, as everybody likes to call it, where he gets them extra rushing yards and touchdowns with his legs, as well as points through the air. And the accuracy has just killed him throughout his first 2 years of his career, and I really don't see any reason it changes going into the third year. I do feel he will get the full 2022 season as a starter, so that appeals to contenders. That means if you hold Jalen Hurts until the end of 2022, you're probably going to be sitting on a backup quarterback, or unless he gets a shot with a bad team or something like that, which is definitely possible. But still, even at that, is he going to be a top 15 quarterback then, maybe, instead of the top 5 that you want him to be? If he didn't have accuracy issues, he'd be a top 5 quarterback all day long. But it's not paying off the way you want it to right now. So go ahead and move on from him. I know quarterbacks on cheap contracts, especially at $1.5 million, are very hard to come by. But all he's going to do right now is win you games that you're trying to lose. Honestly, the more games you lose, the better draft pick you get. So you don't want players out there winning you weeks. Trade those guys for draft picks now, so they're not winning you games during the season. And Jalen Hurts is a perfect example of that. At number 2, we have Travis Kelce, tight end, Kansas City Chiefs. He is on a 5-year, $14 million deal. He is obviously a bona fide superstar in the NFL. He has been the tight end 1 every year, except for this year. He finished as the tight end 2. We did see a little bit of a decline from him this season. I don't think it's much to worry about to say he's going to fully fall flat on his face next season or anything like that. Travis Kelce's going to be fine. He'll probably be the tight end 1 again next season. But as a rebuilding owner, again, he's going to win you games. He's 32. You don't really need him on your roster because he's giving you that positional advantage, as well as we all know tight ends are very, very hard to come by, especially tight end ones like Travis Kelce. He is a huge advantage every single week, and you don't really want that on a rebuilding roster when you're trying to accumulate high draft picks to get these future superstars and really build a strong roster. So right now I'm moving Travis Kelce if I'm rebuilding. Even maybe try to package Kelce in a second for Pitts or something if they're contending. Obviously Kelce's a more valuable asset to a contender than Kyle Pitts is, and Kyle Pitts is a way more valuable asset to a rebuilding owner than Travis Kelce is right now because of age. Travis Kelce has aged well, which is why I feel he'll play well throughout the rest of this contract. Maybe the fourth, fifth year, you might get a little dicey, but it's a 3-year window for these contenders, and it's time for you to capitalize on it if you have Travis Kelce in your rebuilding. At number 3, we have Derrick Henry. He's a running back for the Tennessee Titans. He's on a 3-year, $12.5 million deal. We talked about Derrick Henry earlier in the playoff matchups for the Tennessee Titans. And again, the dude's a beast. I hate telling you guys to trade players like this, but it's what you have to do to speed up a rebuild. And, think about it. In 3 years, when you're rebuilding, teams ready to go, Derrick Henry's probably going to be on the back end of his career and fading away. You're not really going to use him at that point. So you might as well get rid of him now, get assets that are going to help your team win in 2023, 2024, and beyond. Derrick Henry should fetch a very nice haul on the trade market, especially if he comes back in these playoffs and plays well. $12.5 million it's expensive for a running back, but it's not crazy when you look at Ezekiel Elliott's contract and things like that. So Derrick Henry is definitely somebody these contenders are going to go after, and the way he played early in the season, if he can avoid injury, he's definitely a league winner at all stages of the season. He would have been the clear-cut RB1. He might have been up there in the top 5 in overall scoring at the pace he was going. So he's definitely going to fetch you a nice little haul on the trade market, and he's definitely somebody you should look into moving if you are rebuilding. At number 4, Davante Adams, wide receiver, Green Bay Packers. He is a free agent right now. His contract is 1 year, $14.5 million, but he will be a free agent here in the coming months. So who knows how expensive he's going to get. I would imagine it's going to be Tyreek Hill money or more. Maybe even it could potentially get up to the Nuke Hopkins level at $27 million. I don't think the Packers would pay him that, but if he's truly wanting to get top dollar on the open market, he can definitely get that somewhere else. So all that's going to play out with Davante Adams as the months go on, and it's just something you don't really want to have to worry about as a rebuilding owner, or you can go the route and be patient, wait for his new contract, and then try to trade him then. Personally, it's which route you go is preference. I would be patient and wait, hope he lands back in Green Bay, and that would probably produce the most value regardless of what his contract is. You can always, throw in little kickers to offset that contract. At number 5, we got Alvin Kamara, running back, New Orleans Saints, 5 years, $15 million. Kamara's been a staple in your fantasy roster for years. I'm sure it's going to be hard to trade him. Same with all these guys I'm listing. These guys are all very, very good fantasy players and have been for a long time, which is why rebuilding owners need to trade them. You got to get younger. That's the name of the game when you're trying to build a contenders. You want these young Jamar Chase type players, Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris. You want all those on your roster, and you'll be competing for 3 to 4 to 5 years sometimes, depending on the health of your players. So right now you need to move Alvin Kamara, get a couple firsts if you can. You're going to have to throw something in if you want to get 2 first-round picks for him at $15 million a year. But it's just like I said, just jumpstart your rebuild. That is the name of the game and the most important thing you can do. And if you go back and look at Alvin Kamara's season, yes, he played decent, but towards the end of the year, he fell off a little bit. The last week of the season, he had a solid game. But weeks 15 and 16, he was in the single digits, and they weren't having a horrible quarterback issue at that point. He was scoring outrageous numbers when they were in the quarterback, or when they were having their quarterback problems and Trevor Siemian was starting and things like that. But as soon as they got back to a somewhat fluid offense, it's like things just changed for Alvin Kamara, and I didn't like the way it looked. he's only 26, so he's not crazy old. But my rule of thumb is get rid of these running backs when they're going into their second contract, and that's exactly what Alvin Kamara is doing this season. At number 6, we have Mike Williams, wide receiver, Los Angeles Chargers, 1 year, $15.6 million. He will be a free agent in the coming months. He was on the franchise tag this season, and personally, I'm taking whatever I can get for him. He did have a wide receiver 1 season this year. He was the number 12 wide receiver overall, which is good enough for a wide receiver 1. And it's just something you can use to try to boost that value a little bit in a trade scenario. I don't think he's going to get quite what he was making last year. I think he will be a little bit cheaper next season. He was just very inconsistent, very, very productive at the beginning of the season. And then towards the back half of the season, it was kind of an every other week type thing. I did hear there was some injuries with him. I don't know if that's what caused things or not, but I do think it'll affect his contract. Maybe he takes another 1 year prove it deal with the Chargers. It's hard telling. But if he does go back to the Chargers, he will be a valuable piece, and people will be interested in trading for him. So I recommend being patient and waiting for his new deal to play out and just seeing what happens. And you may take a little bit of a loss if he ends up leaving Los Angeles, but that's the risk you take in fantasy football. At number 7, last but not least, Ezekiel Elliott. He is the running back for the Cowboys. He is on a 6-year, $15 million deal. And I'm sure we all seen how bad Zeke struggled at the end of the year. Granted, I seen he had a partial tear of some sort in his knee, but if you're on the field, you're expected to produce. He definitely cost a lot of people fantasy championships this season, but there are some crazy Cowboy fans out there that will pay top dollar for him. My suggestion is try to trade him now before Dallas trades him. I do think he is a potential trade or cut candidate this season as they have Tony Pollard coming in. He is on a massive contract, so they may end up finding a way to keep him, but they just paid Dak huge money, so I don't know. I don't see it fitting on the books with what they're trying to do. Tony Pollard would make a lot more sense there. Maybe they'll find a taker for that contract. It's hard telling. But the Cowboys have done crazier things, so I wouldn't rule out them paying him either. But I would trade him as soon as possible before anything gets crazy with him or he gets traded to somewhere that's looking more of a committee approach than he's already in. Just kind of get what you can for him at this point. And that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys check out Steve's video he did yesterday. He was giving you guys the players that you need to amnesty this offseason. I wouldn't recommend amnestying any of these guys that I just mentioned here. These are all definitely trade candidates, people that you can get value in return for, and it just kind of went along with it. So that's why I went this route this week. I usually do this a little bit later, but maybe we'll come back and hit it after all these contracts are re-signed and things like that. Be sure to check out Matt's articles and videos on Fridays and Nate on Thursdays. Thank you guys for watching and stay safe.